Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. Apple seems like it has been sitting back watching everybody else build out artificial intelligence products while it's just not changing a lot with its products when it comes to AI. But that's probably not the case behind the scenes. Apple's typically not a company that's going to be at the bleeding edge of new technology, but it is going to be a leader eventually as it figures out exactly how that technology plays out. That's exactly what I think we learned this week with a couple of things, including what a lot of people are calling Apple GPT. Apple GPT, which Apple has supposedly been developing in house for quite some time. So I want to talk about exactly what this could mean for Apple long term. My name is Travis William. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content and check out the event I'm doing August 18th in the DC area called the Money Collaborative. There's a link to that in the show notes. So if you're in that area, check that out. And I want to start with a few articles that highlight what we know about Apple's AI ambitions so far. I'll start with this article from The Verge, which talks about Apple is testing an AI chatbot, a lot like ChatGPT, but doesn't know exactly what it wants to do with it. Makes sense given the fact that this is such a new industry, and when Apple releases a product, it's typically something that they have thought about for quite a while. So they're watching things like the success or failure of ChatGPT. And in the past week, we have seen that demand or searches for ChatGPT have really declined precipitously over the last few months, and accuracy of ChatGPT itself may be declining. Now, maybe that's because the model's not improving in the way that people thought it would, and maybe it's because our expectations are getting higher. Either way, people's perception of ChatGPT is not getting any better. So Apple doesn't necessarily want to be leading the charge. It wants to see what works and what doesn't, and then incorporate that in its products. This has always been Apple's strategy. But this is something that has been reported over and over across publications. And it's pretty clear that Apple at least has ambitions to do something with artificial intelligence with its devices. Now, Apple has been involved in AI, but it's typically things that are hidden in the background from us as users. I think the logical end state is something like Siri is enabled with artificial intelligence in a way that it maybe isn't quite right now. We have seen with ChatGPT that there are capabilities that that model has and that interface has that maybe don't work very well with Siri. So bringing that to Apple could be a benefit for the company. But the other thing to think about from Apple's perspective is they are vertically integrated device makers. So they're designing both the chips and the software. This is where they can really differentiate themselves from an artificial intelligence standpoint because they can put the model that either they're developing or licensing from somebody else or pulling from open source. They can put that model directly on their devices. They can lock that down and say, hey, only we can access this model. They can make that model available to other developers who can then tap into it when they're developing apps for the App Store. They can have the model search the internet. There's all kinds of different things that Apple could do with artificial intelligence if it's developing its own tools and putting them on device. The fact that we didn't hear anything at WWDC this year, I think was telling because Apple probably wasn't ready to release anything to the world. But I would be shocked if we don't see some sort of announcement either with the next refresh of the iPhone, which will probably be this fall, or at WWDC next year with a new operating system upgrade. And the benefit for Apple is that they're going to be able to push this out to hundreds of millions of users all at once. So Apple may not be the company that is leading in artificial intelligence today, but I really like where they're sitting long term. The fact that they own the device, they're designing the chips, and they're going to be able to push those models and inferences onto the device is, I think, a very powerful position for them to be in because right now it appears that the model itself is going to be a commodity in artificial intelligence. Everybody has one. They're all a little bit different, and they just need to be tuned for different use cases. Apple is in a perfect position to do that. That may be a bit of a contrarian take, but I think that's where we are right now. So what do you think about Apple GPT or whatever their AI product is going to be called? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.